My father once told me, "Don't listen to what people say." I was young, perhaps too young to fully understand what he meant. At the time, I believed he was telling me to ignore the world. But I would come to realize, in the fullness of life, that he was teaching me something far greater than silence. He was teaching me the power of inner peace. You see, when people speak against you, it is not merely their words you must guard against, but the temptation within yourself to believe them. That temptation is the true danger, the quiet voice inside that begins to whisper, "Perhaps they are right." That is where battles are lost, not on the outside, but within. My father was not telling me to be deaf to the world. He was telling me to be wise enough not to let every word find a home in my soul. The world is noisy. And when you try to do something meaningful, when you begin to walk a path that not everyone understands, the noise gets louder. Criticism, judgment, suspicion, jealousy. It comes not only from strangers, but sometimes from those you love and those you hoped would stand beside you. And if you listen too closely to the noise, if you bend your ear to every opinion, you begin to shrink yourself just to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. But silence, real silence, is not the absence of noise. It is the presence of understanding. It is the calm that comes when you no longer need to answer every insult, prove every point, or fight every battle. There is strength in restraint. There is wisdom in walking away from the voices that aim not to build, but to break. My father knew this, and I came to know it through hardship, through moments when I had to stand alone with nothing but my conviction and a quiet heart. There was a time in my life when everything in me wanted to scream back at the world, to answer every accusation, to confront every rumor. But I learned that silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. It is the choice to rise above rather than sink into the mud of bitterness and reaction. It is the decision to protect your dignity when others are desperate to take it from you. Some may call it weakness, but I tell you, it takes more strength to hold your tongue than to unleash your anger. It takes more power to pause than to pounce, and when the storm passes, and it always does, people will remember not only what was said, but how you carried yourself through it all. There will be times when your silence will feel lonely, when you want to shout your truth into the world, and you should, when the time is right, when the words are whole and rooted in purpose. But do not throw your pearls to those who are waiting only to trample them. Do not spend your energy justifying your existence to those who have already decided not to understand you. Instead, let your actions speak. Let your perseverance speak. Let the quiet victories in your daily life become the loudest answer to those who doubted you. When you stop listening to the noise, something remarkable happens. You begin to hear your own voice again. You begin to trust your own spirit. You begin to remember who you were before the world tried to tell you who to be. And that, I believe, is the beginning of overcoming negative feelings, not in pretending they do not exist, not in denying pain or sorrow, but in learning not to feed them with the poison of other people's words. Hold your peace not just in silence, but in stillness of spirit. Let the wind howl, let the voices rise. You must remain rooted, for if the tree listens to every breeze, it will never grow tall. The world will always speak. But you must choose which voices are worthy of your attention, and which should pass like wind through leaves, heard but not held. And when you learn to master that, when you stand in your own truth without needing applause or permission, then you will know what my father meant when he said, "Don't listen to what people say." That is the voice of freedom. There was a time in my life when I believed the names others gave me. It is easy to fall into that trap, especially when the voices are many and the noise is loud. They say things about you, harsh things, cruel things, and after a while, you begin to wear those words like a second skin. You begin to forget who you are. But my father, a man of quiet power and unshakable dignity, once told me, "You are not what they call you. You are what you answer to." That stayed with me. Those words cut through the confusion like light through fog. You see, people will try to name you according to their own fear, their own ignorance, their own limitations. They will call you foolish when you dream big. They will call you arrogant when you walk with confidence. They will call you dangerous when you refuse to bow. But none of these labels mean anything unless you choose to carry them. I have been called many things in my life. Some of those names were meant to strip me of hope, to put me in a box small enough to control. I was called a threat, a troublemaker, even worse. But I learned not to wear those names because none of them spoke to who I truly was. I knew my heart. I knew the road I had chosen, and I understood that those who fear change will always try to silence the voice that brings it. Do not let the world define you by its own insecurities. You were born whole. You were born enough. You were not born with shame in your blood or weakness in your bones. The world teaches you those things, but they are not yours to keep. Cast them off like dust from your shoulders. You are not the doubts of others. You are not their criticism, their gossip, or their laughter behind your back. You are the quiet strength that keeps walking forward when everything tries to push you back. There are children today growing up under the weight of words they did not ask for, names that were given to them in anger, in ignorance, and some will carry those names for years, never questioning them. But I say this to every child, every woman, every man who has ever been told they were less. You are more than the words they use against you. You are more than the labels that seek to limit you. You are more than their fear. The world will try to convince you that your worth is up for debate. It is not. You do not need to explain your humanity. You do not need to prove your dignity. Those are your birthrights. The moment you understand this, truly understand it, the voices lose their power. They will still speak, but their words will no longer shake you. Because when you stand in your truth, the ground beneath you becomes firm. There is a kind of freedom in refusing to accept the names that don't belong to you. The freedom to define yourself, the freedom to choose your path without apology, the freedom to walk into every room with your head held high, not because you are better than others, but because you finally know your own value. And when you stop answering to the names given to you by fear and hatred, something beautiful happens. You begin to hear your real name, the one written in your spirit before the world tried to change you. The one that reminds you that you are brave, that you are worthy, that you belong. It takes courage to reject the labels. It takes strength to say, "That is not who I am," but it is a necessary strength. Because if you do not choose your own name, someone else will do it for you, and they will not choose kindly. So to anyone listening who has been called things that made you question yourself, I say this: throw those names away. Bury them, burn them if you must, but do not carry them. Do not let them settle into your bones. You are not what they say. You never were. You are what you rise above. You are what you survive. You are what you become when you choose your own name, your own worth, your own path. And when you finally answer only to what is true, only to what is whole, then no one can ever take that from you, not with a whisper, not with a shout, not with all the names in the world. That is the voice of freedom. There were days in my life when pain sat beside me like an old companion. It crept into my mornings, it followed me into the night, and there were moments when I feared it would never leave. Pain from words, pain from betrayal, pain from loss, it weighed heavily, and I could not pretend it didn't hurt. But one thing I came to understand, one truth that changed everything, is this: pain is not a punishment. Pain is a teacher. Too many people carry their pain as if it were a sentence, something they must serve, something they must suffer through endlessly. But pain is not meant to keep us prisoner. It is meant to awaken us, to shape us, to deepen us. My father told me once, when your heart breaks, it breaks open. I did not understand him until life had broken me more than once, until sorrow had sat at my table and grief had knocked on my door, and still I remained. Still I learned, still I grew. The world will tell you to harden yourself, to toughen up, to act as though nothing hurts you. But I say this, do not run from pain, do not hide from it. Face it, listen to it. Let it speak, because in that pain there is truth, not the kind that destroys you, but the kind that rebuilds you. When you walk through the fire, you come out forged, not burned. I have seen people break under the weight of unspoken pain. I have seen men pretend they are fine while they bleed on the inside. I have seen women smile while silently drowning, and I say this to each of them, your feelings are not weakness. Your pain is not failure. Do not let anyone convince you that your wounds make you unworthy. We all bleed, we all cry, we all fall. What matters is what we do after. Do we let the pain turn us bitter? Do we let it make us smaller, colder, closed off to love, to joy, to trust? Or do we let it teach us compassion? Do we let it remind us that others, too, are carrying heavy loads? Do we let it stretch our hearts, deepen our wisdom, and strengthen our spirit? There were times when I wanted the pain to stop, and I thought the only way forward was to numb myself, to feel less. But I learned that when you numb pain, you also numb joy. You cannot choose to silence one emotion without silencing them all. And so I began to feel again, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. I learned to sit with my pain, to ask it what it wanted to teach me, to let it pass through me without letting it make a home in me. Some of the most beautiful things in life are born from pain. A song, a prayer, a poem, a truth. There is something honest about sorrow that strips us of our pride and reminds us that we are human. And in that shared humanity, there is connection. You see, when you understand your own pain, you become gentler with others. You become slower to judge, quicker to forgive. But let me be clear, this does not mean you let the pain define you. It does not mean you become the wound. You are not the things that happen to you. You are not the betrayal, not the disappointment, not the heartbreak. You are what survived it. You are the strength that walked out of the fire still standing, still breathing, still believing. So when the days are heavy, when the nights are long, when everything inside you wants to give up, remember this: pain is not the end of your story. It is a chapter, and chapters pass. Feel it, yes. Cry if you must. Rest if you need, but do not build your life inside that moment. You are meant to move forward. You are meant to rise. You are meant to heal. The scars you carry are not shameful. They are proof that you have lived, that you have loved, that you have dared to care deeply. Wear them with pride. Let them remind you of your strength, not your suffering, because every step you take forward, no matter how small, is a declaration. I am not done. I am not defeated. I am still here. And that is the voice of freedom. There is a moment in every person's life when the world throws a stone at them, not always a physical one, but words that strike the heart, looks that pierce the soul, actions that bruise without leaving a mark on the skin. And in those moments, you are given a choice. A stone thrown in hatred or doubt can become a wound, or it can become a foundation. I learned this not through books or speeches, but through experience. When I was insulted, shamed, cast aside, I wanted to retaliate. I wanted to throw the stones back, and I could have, but my father's voice was steady in my mind. Choose the stone you build with. That lesson stayed with me like breath in my lungs. You cannot control what others throw at you. You cannot stop every insult, every judgment, every betrayal. But you can choose what to do with it. Will you let it break you, or will you pick it up and build something stronger with it? Because the truth is, life will throw many stones, not just from strangers, but from people close to you, people who misunderstand you, people who fear your growth, people who want you to stay small so they can feel tall. And yet, we are not made by what others give us. We are made by what we do with it. A house of strength is built not with soft words and easy days, but with difficulty, with resistance, with struggle. The foundation of your character is not formed during applause, but during silence, during moments when the only voice you hear is your own, urging you not to fall. So many of us carry our pain like a sack of stones on our back, dragging it from place to place, conversation to conversation, never setting it down, never letting go. But what if we stopped carrying and started building? What if we used the rejection to build resolve, the criticism to build clarity, the heartbreak to build empathy? What if every stone thrown became a step upward? It is not easy. I will never pretend that it is. It is easier to be angry. It is easier to lash out. It is easier to let bitterness grow like weeds around your spirit. But bitterness builds nothing. It only destroys. And while you are busy trying to get even, you remain stuck, frozen in the same moment of pain. When I look back, I see a path built from many stones, some smooth, some sharp. Each one taught me something. Each one made me stronger. The stones that hurt the most are the ones that lifted me the highest. Because every time I chose not to throw them back, I chose to be better, not bitter. This world needs builders, not just those who build with hands, but those who build with hearts, with courage, with vision. The ones who take the worst of life and turn it into something worthy. If all we do is throw stones at each other, we build nothing but walls. But if we build with those same stones, we can create bridges, shelters, towers of hope. And I tell you, there is no greater act of defiance than to take what was meant to break you and turn it into something beautiful. That is power. That is freedom. To walk among those who tried to tear you down and offer them not revenge, but peace. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Let them speak. Let them doubt. Let them throw what they will. You have work to do. You have something to build. Let your life become the proof that they were wrong. Let your achievements rise like pillars from the stones they cast. There will always be another stone, another voice, another challenge, but you do not have to meet it with hate. Meet it with strength. Quiet, steady, unshakable strength. Because when the house you build stands tall, it will not be shaken by the voices outside its walls. So the next time the world throws a stone at you, ask yourself, will I carry this as a burden, or will I build something with it? And then begin one stone at a time, one step at a time, one act of faith at a time. You do not need to throw anything to prove your power. You need only to build. That is the voice of freedom. When the storms of life come, and they will, most people will tell you to fight, to stand your ground, to push back with all your strength. But there is another kind of strength, a deeper one, a quieter one, and that is the strength to forgive, not because others deserve it, but because your heart does. I have seen what unforgiveness does to a person. It hardens them. It closes the door on healing. It builds a prison, not for the person who caused the harm, but for the one holding on to the pain. When we hold on to resentment, we chain ourselves to the very thing we want to be free from. We replay the insult, the betrayal, the injustice over and over again, thinking that this somehow gives us power, but it doesn't. It only drains us. It takes away our peace. It clouds our vision of what lies ahead. Forgiveness is not about pretending the hurt didn't happen. It is not about saying it didn't matter. It did. It still does. But forgiveness is choosing to no longer carry it. It is deciding that your future matters more than your past, that your healing matters more than your pride, that your peace matters more than being right. I had to forgive those who spoke against me. I had to forgive those who turned their backs on me when I needed them most. And it was not easy, it never is. Sometimes I would wake up and still feel the sting of their words, still remember the look in their eyes when they walked away. But I realized I could not carry that pain every day and still walk freely. It was too heavy, it was weighing me down, and I had places to go. I had a life to live, so I laid it down. Some people misunderstand forgiveness. They think it's weakness. They think it means letting others get away with what they've done. But forgiveness is not letting them off the hook, it's letting yourself off the hook. It's refusing to let your spirit be poisoned by their actions. It's rising above, not sinking to meet them where they fell. There is power in being able to look at someone who tried to break you and feel nothing but peace in your heart. Not anger, not revenge, just peace. That kind of peace is not cheap. It is earned, it is chosen. Day after day, moment after moment, until the wound becomes a scar, and the scar becomes a reminder, not of pain, but of how far you've come. And sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. We carry guilt like an anchor. We blame ourselves for things we could not have changed, for choices we made in moments of confusion or fear. But if we can offer compassion to others, we must learn to offer it to ourselves. You cannot live fully if you are still punishing yourself for a past you cannot rewrite. Forgive yourself, speak kindly to yourself, begin again. You do not owe your pain to anyone. You do not have to wear it like a badge to prove that you have suffered. Let it go, not because the wound was small, but because your soul was never meant to bleed forever. There comes a time when you must choose joy, when you must choose freedom, and forgiveness is the key that unlocks that door. I do not speak these words lightly. I speak them because I have lived them. I know what it means to be hurt deeply. I know what it means to be misunderstood, but I also know what it means to walk free, and that freedom does not come from revenge. It comes from release. The people who hurt you may never say sorry. They may never understand what they did, but you don't need them to. You don't need their apology to find peace. You need only your own decision, the quiet, powerful decision to let go, to stop drinking the poison of anger, expecting them to suffer, and instead to drink from the well of your own healing. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is remembering without hate. It is choosing not to let the past dictate your future. It is not a single act, but a daily choice to be better, not bitter. To be whole, not wounded. To be free, not chained. And that is the voice of freedom. There comes a point in every journey when silence surrounds you. The noise of others fades. The applause is gone. The critics have grown tired, and even the voices of encouragement grow still. And it's in that quiet, often uncomfortable, sometimes lonely, that you are left with one question. Who are you when no one else is watching? My father used to say, walk your path, even when the road is empty. At the time, I didn't fully grasp what he meant. But life, as it always does, brought clarity. When I was younger, I looked to others for direction, for confirmation. I wanted to know I was doing the right thing, that I was making progress, that someone, somewhere, saw me. But there were days when there was no applause, no confirmation, only effort. And in those days, I learned the value of walking forward with no audience. We are raised in a world that constantly tells us to look outward, to seek approval, to earn validation, to measure ourselves by likes, by attention, by the opinions of those who do not walk in our shoes. But those things are fleeting. They come and go like wind. And if you build your strength on applause, you will crumble in silence. The strongest person is not the one who is praised the most, but the one who keeps going when there is no one left to clap. You must believe in your path when no one else understands it. You must continue to plant seeds even when no one sees you sowing, because purpose is not a show. It is not meant to be performed. It is meant to be lived. Day after day, quietly, humbly, consistently, there were moments when I questioned if the struggle was worth it. Times when progress was invisible and hope felt thin. But I remembered my father's words. I remembered that true strength is built in the quiet, in the unseen effort, in the steps you take when your legs are tired and your spirit feels stretched thin. That is where character is shaped. That is where purpose deepens. And I've seen it. People give up not because they lack talent or drive, but because they were waiting for others to notice them, to cheer them on, to validate their worth. And when that didn't come, they stopped. But you must not stop. You must become your own source of belief. You must become the one voice that never gives up on you. There is something sacred about perseverance without praise, about commitment that does not seek reward. It builds something inside you that no applause ever could, a kind of peace, a kind of certainty, a quiet fire that tells you, even if no one sees me today, I know why I rise, I know why I continue. You see, the most important parts of your journey will happen in the shadows. The breakthroughs, the growth, the moments when you almost gave in but chose to rise instead, these are the moments that shape you. These are the moments that define who you are. I am not who I am because people believed in me. I am who I am because I believed in myself when they didn't. Because I kept showing up. Because I kept walking. Because I did not need a crowd to know that I was on the right path. When you learn to walk with yourself, you become unshakable. You no longer need to chase validation. You no longer fear the silence. In fact, you come to welcome it, because you know that in the silence, your purpose speaks loudest. You hear your own voice clearly, and that voice becomes your compass. So if you are walking a path right now that feels lonely, keep walking. If you are doing the work and no one seems to notice, keep working. If you are carrying a dream that no one else understands, carry it with pride. Because the world may not see the quiet steps, but the results will speak one day. And when they do, they will not whisper, they will roar. And when that moment comes, when the world finally sees what you've built in silence, you will not need their applause. Because you'll know who you are, you'll know what it took. You'll know that the real reward was not in being seen, but in becoming unshakable. That is the voice of freedom.